Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 2020 SCLA virtual conference. Before we begin, I just wanted to have a few reminders. Please make sure that you are muted so that any background noise can't be heard by the presenter or other participants. And I also ask that unless you're presenting, to not video share, just so we can save on bandwidth. Our presenter for our keynotes during the opening session is Leesa Aiken. She is the acting director of the South Carolina State Library. She has worked for nearly 9 years in various capacities, including deputy director responsible for human resources, finance, administration, library development, and talking book services. Ms. Aiken received a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Child and Family Studies with an emphasis on early care and education from Columbia College, a Master's of Arts degree from Columbia College in Organizational Change Leadership, and a Master's of Arts degree in Library and Information Science from the University of South Carolina. She is a certified public manager, a master project manager, senior professional in human resources, and she served on the South Carolina State Grievance Committee for a number of years. She is active in the Greater Columbia Chamber of Commerce, the Society for Human Resources, the Chief Officers of State Library Agencies, and state and local government. Ms. Aiken has served on numerous boards to include First Steps, Rolling Readers, International Public Management Association, South Carolina State Employee Association, Partnership Among South Carolina Academic Libraries, K-12 Technology Board, and several others. Leesa enjoys creating programs that have a statewide impact and that provide equal access to information for all South Carolinians. And everyone, let's give a warm welcome to Ms. Aiken.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, great. Yes. Megan, thanks so much for that. I think I may have sent you an old bio or we got our wires crossed somewhere, but that's okay. I'm the director of the South Carolina State Library. I've been since 2016. I've been here, I've been at the State Library for 14 years, and I'm really excited to be here today. So I'm going to share a slideshow with you all. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Great, thanks. Megan told me that this year's theme for SCLA was Imagine, Learn, Create Together. So when Megan asked me to be the keynote for this conference, I didn't hesitate. I was really excited. I like a challenge, but most importantly, I love libraries and librarians. And what a great theme this is to do during a pandemic where social distancing is imperative, resources are limited, and people cannot gather together. This is not going to be an easy keynote, is it? It's cool. We're librarians. We've got this. So the last 6 months have been full of lots of different challenges. When I sent my staff home on March the 17th, I had no idea 6 months later that we still would not be in the same building together. But that's the reality that we're living with. Let me be really clear about something. This is not a new normal. This is just our current reality. There's no way that we can continue to function as though this is a new normal. Libraries are going to open back full time. Librarians are going to get back to doing the work that they love to do, hands-on. So this is not a new normal. It is just our current reality. There have been plenty of lows for us during this time. Some of us may have lost loved ones, been sick ourselves, had financial difficulties, or tried to assist a child as they went back to school and worried. Most of us have worried a lot about a variety of things. It can be cathartic to talk about these things, and I encourage you to find a place to do that. But today, our primary focus we are primarily going to focus on the good things and the highs that have happened in the last 6 months. I'm going to start with the first word of our conference, imagine. So along with the theme for the conference, Megan gave me some additional questions to just sort of think and ponder. And it was interesting to me as I was developing what I was going to say to you all. I felt like those questions that she gave me really fit in with the different words for this program. So imagine, how can we share things in order to learn from each other? This is what libraries do. Libraries are all about sharing. This is what we do best, I think, in fact. From the very beginning, when others were struggling, libraries and librarians really just dug in, began doing what they do, which is researching, becoming familiar with something, and then figuring out how they were going to address the needs of their public. They created resources, and I want to share a couple with you. Let's hope my hyperlinks work. This is, I'm going to highlight this webpage that Charleston County developed, and it's Charleston County's one-stop shop. Megan, did the screen share go to this next screen, or do I need to slide over to it?
No, you'll probably have to stop sharing and then
Go
reshare.
to it. Okay, no problem. It should now be showing Charleston County Public Library.
It is.
Okay, great. So this is a webpage that the Charleston County Public Library created for people who are being impacted by COVID, and anybody really can use this at a variety of times. So this is simply called Let Us Help. I love that. It's just so basic. Let Us Help. Resources for employment, small businesses, finance, and more. And if we look down through here, we see 10 tips for performing well in any job interview, online professional courses provided free for those unemployed due to COVID-19. And there are a couple of videos that you can watch regarding workforce development. It's just a really robust, I'm not going to go deep into it, but page on their site that they created for their patrons. We should be back to my slide now.
We are.
Great. Libraries also created COVID LibGuides, best practices that they shared. In fact, Spartanburg County sort of outdid themselves. I think they did it such a wonderful job. I'm not sharing this, but this is my teaser for you if you want to go look it up. They created a 21-page document that's a coronavirus response plan, and they shared that widely and openly, not only with libraries, but with others in their community. Continuing education offerings increased. I know that we at the State Library saw a tremendous increase. I think that we had around 900 people participating in continuing education within the first 2 months of being home from the coronavirus. Public libraries created online book clubs where they didn't have any before. They offered tax assistance and employment assistance online. Excuse me. Some added electronic resources to their offerings if they weren't already. For us at the State Library, we added tutor.com to help with the children who were home, who are being schooled rather from home or virtually due to the pandemic. We also added Tumble Math, and we added the Charleston Post and Courier historical newspaper for researchers. Learn is the next word of our theme. So how are we doing? This is a question that Megan asked. I think this is a great question. I love this question. It's the middle of a pandemic. How are we doing? Here's Peggy Parrish at the Clarendon County Library wearing her mask because we all know Peggy's smart. We are learning quickly. That's what we are doing and we have been doing. We quickly learned what PPE stood for and various acronyms that we, prior to March, really weren't very aware of. Some learned how to sew their own masks. We learned how to negotiate the DHEC and CDC websites daily, if not hourly, for some of us. We also learned some other important pieces. We learned that we had to limit our hours. We had to change our service delivery. Many went to, initially, many of our libraries were closed completely and now have gone to curbside service. Create is the next word in our theme. So how are things going? Librarians are naturally innovative people. We have to serve a lot of different people with limited resources on a regular basis. So that part of this pandemic is nothing new for us. This is what we do, I think, regularly. But libraries are full of creative people. I've highlighted a few more programs that I wanted to share with you. You can see over on the right of my screen, there's just a flyer. This Cottageville Library is in Colleton County. And this was just advertised on their Facebook page. I think that's the other thing that we got really good at was social media, if we weren't already. This is a virtual remote rock painting. Just really fun, I think. And then we have this video from Georgetown County Library that I'd like to show you. This was created for their Spanish-speaking population, a little more serious than our rock painting, so that they have information related to COVID-19. They can protect themselves, they can protect their families, and they can make a difference in their communities. So I'm going to show you that now. Megan, can you see that?
No, we still see the PowerPoint.
You do? Okay, I'm sorry. 1 second.
We see it now.
Great, okay. Here we go.
I'm not able to hear the audio.
You're not? Okay, I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure that I can do anything about it, however. I apologize. This is a great video that Georgetown County Library created regarding the coronavirus for their Spanish-speaking population. I'm happy to send that out. I'll put the link in the, I'll put a link to it in the chat. How about that? I'm sorry, I've had a little trouble with my audio today. And we should be back to the slide.
Yes, we are.
Great. A few of our libraries also created PPE using their 3D printers. Some changed their circulation policies for devices and began circulating Wi-Fi's and some laptops, Chromebooks, etc., to people who were unemployed and looking for work, to senior centers rather, and for students. Now, summer reading was a big concern of mine when the pandemic started. Well, actually, not when the pandemic started, because I thought we'd be home about 2 weeks. But after a period of time when it was clear that we weren't going to go back before the end of the school year, summer reading was a big concern of mine, and obviously of others as well, due to the virtual school environment that most of the kids finished out their year. However, I'm happy to report that we had 40 public library systems participate in summer reading this year. They made a combined 31,000 make and take bags. Those bags were full of books and activities that families could do at home with their children. And that's just so inspiring to me. 31,000. Think about that. 31,000 different make and take bags across our state went home with children. We had 32,000 people, a little more than 32,000 people, log their summer reading. I have to be really honest with you here and tell you this surprised me. I didn't log my summer reading. I didn't log my child's summer reading. I feel terrible about that. We read constantly, but I am really inspired and impressed with the people who continued their normal habits of reading and logging their reading. Even more impressive, however, is that these are just the programs that we know about. There were over 2,200 programs held for summer reading. Most of these programs were virtual, and they were a variety of different things, from someone reading online to activities online, to performers online. Just basically, if you would normally see it in a public library, it was taken virtually. Together. What a great word. How can we band together for advocacy for libraries, to advocate for libraries? This is another great question. Megan had wonderful primer questions, I think. I want to give you some statistics. If you know me or don't know me, you'll find this out right now. I love statistics. I love statistics because they tell part of a story. They don't take away the human part, and they can't make up for the human aspect of the story, but they certainly add to it. So connection, that is how we advocate for libraries. We have 4.6 million people in South Carolina. Of those people, 2.4 million are library card holders. That's significant. We have 46 counties in South Carolina with 195 public library locations and 33 bookmobiles, and both of those numbers continue to increase regularly. And last year, we had 13.9 million visits to the public library. 3 times the number of people we have nearly visited the public library. So how do we advocate for libraries? First, you have to believe that libraries are important, and I trust that you all do. You're here. Then you have to talk about why libraries are important. People give time and money to things that they find important. Libraries are for everyone. We need to make sure that everyone knows that. Everyone who you come in contact with knows that the library has something for them. And finally, vote. Our elected leaders make decisions about the financial structure of our counties, our towns, our cities, and our states. Make sure that you're voting for people who support libraries and think libraries are important. And this is a picture of the outside of the front of our building with one of our lions. I know that we have other people who are going to talk about advocacy this afternoon, but I wanted to leave a few minutes for questions, and I want to close on, I said that there have been many lows during the coronavirus, and there have also been a variety of highs. I believe character is developed and made during times of difficulty, not ease. I'm naturally an optimist. I'm going to be really candid and say not all the days of these last 6.5 months have been easy to be an optimist. I'm sure that you found yourself in that same position. But I just encourage you to talk about that when you need to talk about that, seek assistance when you need to seek assistance for it, and look for opportunities to connect with other people, look for opportunities to find joy, look for opportunities to create, to innovate, to be of service. And I think that helps to relieve some of the anxiety that we have right now. And it's not going to last forever. It won't. And at the other end of it, libraries are going to be in the exact same place that we usually are in people's minds, which are, I can go to the library because it is a safe space for me, and they care about me individually, and they have services for me individually. Libraries are the cornerstone of a community. We know that. And that's going to be proven even more at the end of this. So I want you all to take care and let us know if we can do anything to help you, but I'm open to answer any questions that you may have about anything.
And you can either unmute yourself or put your question into the chat.
Hey, Carl. I highlighted, Carl Coffin is putting a question in the chat, he's typing, and I highlighted Colleton County's rock painting activity in one of my slides. They also have a fantastic children's librarian in Colleton County who does a ton of great videos. If you're not following them on Facebook, do so. And you can check out Sheila on there. Do I have any idea when the State Library will reopen to patrons? That's a great question, Carl. Thank you. So we are off-site for the most part, with the exception of our Talking Book Services circulation team, because they are circulating our books to our Talking Book Services. Everything else we have taken online. So we are doing our library development consultations online. We're averaging around 200 a month. So we're still doing about the same amount. The only difference is that we're not visiting our public libraries. And everything else, like our reference questions, we are doing those online. We've just created a grant platform so that we can do individual grant sessions online. So really the only two things that we're not doing are two things that we do in person, which is one, continuing education, or some of the training activities that we have here. We've taken that all online and we've had wonderful participation. And then we are not open to the public currently. So we don't have OpenStax anyway. For those of you who don't necessarily know about the State Library, we don't have OpenStax, so you can't come and just browse our collection. We have a space on our first floor where people can come in and use the Wi-Fi and get some assistance, but so that's really the only service that we don't have open right now. When is that going to happen? That's Carl's question, though. I'm going to take a drink real quick. Excuse me. I don't know, Carl, is the answer to that. We're following the CDC guidelines and the DHEC guidelines regarding the reduction in numbers, the consistent and significant reduction of COVID case numbers. Locally here in Columbia, the school districts were set to open partially for hybrid classes October the 26th. That date was pushed back to November the 4th. So we certainly will not open before then. We are working in partnership with them. And we're an employer, so we have people who have children as well in those counties. But we certainly don't want to add to the spread of the virus. And so for as long as we can work successfully at home, we're going to continue to do that until it's safe for us to return to work. Hope that answers your question.
I have a question, Leesa.
Yeah.
So I've only ever worked in academic libraries, and so I'm kind of aware of what's going on in academic libraries, and I'm not exactly as sure of the impact on public libraries. So for academic libraries, a lot of us are facing budget cuts.
Yeah.
A lot of us are facing furloughs. I think some universities have been hit harder with furloughs than others. And I didn't know if you knew what the impact might be coming out of this pandemic for public libraries and for school libraries, and maybe some ways that we can band together to fight to keep our resources.
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. Thank you for asking that too, because my focus is primarily on public libraries, as you can see from my presentation and my comments. And if you are familiar with what we do, it's primarily public libraries, although we work, I serve on the SCAL board, and so we work with the universities and tech schools in that regard. We share resources academically. And then for school libraries, of course, we have Discus, and we have some programming that we do specifically in directing counties. Lately, it's been through some impact grants, but Discus is our primary resource that we reach the K-12 community, and so where the school librarians might or would be then interested, along with tutor.com and Tumble Math. So what do I think the results are going to be? I'm going to start more broadly, if I may, and please stop me, Megan. I know that you have Jonathan in Virginia to speak as well, so I want to be respectful of that, but I just want to answer that question more broadly and then maybe go down to public libraries. When we went into the coronavirus, when the coronavirus started, our state had a budget excess at the state level. Okay, so we were doing financially pretty well in our state. I had just presented to the Senate when the coronavirus came. And so I was asking for an increase to public libraries for state aid and some additional, an increase for resources for K-12 to add to Discus. I felt pretty good about that, to be honest with you. And then the pandemic hit. That budget excess really is not going to exist anymore. So the state, and this might be a good way to sort of explain this too. The state, you might have all heard that the state received CARES Act funds for broadband extension and to supply Wi-Fi to children who are being educated from home, who are attending school virtually. Those funds are gone. They have to be spent by December the 30th, or they have to be sent back to the federal government. So what's happened is that there are around 1 million devices that have been purchased. The contract for those devices, for the monthly usage of those devices, has only been paid for through the end of December. School, it's highly unlikely that kids are going to all be back in school full time come January 1. Maybe they will be, but it's unlikely. So the state is going to have to make up those funds for that are right now being paid for federally. So any money that exists right now in the state at the state level that we would then move down through is really non-existent. And so, am I concerned about the budget? Of course I am. Should you be concerned? Of course you should. Should you let it paralyze you? Try not to. Try to create resources and programs for the people who you serve. Public libraries. How does it impact public libraries? Sort of the same, take out the CARES Act money out of that, but sort of the same scenario. Counties get money through revenue, right? So if people are not working, a couple of ways, taxes and revenue. If people aren't working, they're not spending money. If people aren't working, they can't pay their taxes. And so the funding is obviously decreasing at our local levels. So am I aware of public libraries who have directly received budget cuts? I am aware of conversations for public libraries potentially receiving budget cuts. Do I think that will come to fruition? Most likely. Most likely it will. And my hope is that it's not as deep as it potentially could be, that it's a small cut, and no cut is ever good. And it's the same thing with our universities. I have a college age child right now who's attending, and I know for him, he got a refund because he had to finish the semester out online. And that has an impact on our colleges as well. Whether parents feel comfortable sending their kids away to school, that has an impact. I mean, there are so many issues with this, economically, educationally. That's part of the reason, to answer Carl's question, when is the State Library going to reopen our doors? I'm not sure. We are going to try to not add to the situation. We're all trying to social distance and stay at home and not leave our houses unless we absolutely have to, for as long as we can deliver our services in the way that we are. So Megan, I think, is it going to have a financial impact? It will. It's going to vary depending on, obviously, the county's financial structure, their tax base, how library funds come in, and that sort of varies between county. But I do think that we will have some reduction in funding. But let me just one more say, don't let that stop you from doing what you do, because what we do right now matters, and it matters so much to people's individual lives, and it matters to us professionally as well, and to our own professional integrity. Did that answer your question, Megan?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for me? If not, I'm going to just talk for a second. Okay, Darlington Library. Hey, Darlington. Darlington's question is, Leesa, we are looking into the future and see virtual programming becoming a part of a youth services librarian's job moving forward. If this is Jimmy, yes, Jimmy's always thinking ahead. Has the State Library given any thought to this and how it might help libraries? So my belief about libraries and the State Library is that we have to be flexible, nimble organizations, because we have to be able to respond to the needs of our public at any time, of our patrons at any time. So that's our, if you will, business model, is that we are responsive to what's happening. I think that's evident in our response at the beginning of COVID anyway, with sharing resources and then contracting with tutor.com, et cetera. I think libraries do that naturally. Have we given any thought to how virtual programming might be part of a youth services librarian's job? So we're already doing that. And so we do that with the kits that we loan. We have, I believe, 295 kits that we loan. Many of those have a virtual component. And we do that through our consulting as well. But I will tell you that the depth and breadth and level at which we're doing it has certainly changed over the last 6 months, because it's out of necessity. You know, it's really the only way to deliver programs. So yes, we will continue to grow that, think about it, share ideas. All of my staff are involved directly with groups around the nation, and they're sharing ideas and they're learning from each other, and we implement some of those ideas and others implement ideas that we have. So we'll continue to do that. And my Talking Book Services people put a great link in the chat. Thank you. This is join us for Digital Books and Friends Book Club. Thank you, Kristen. Okay, I'm gonna just talk for advocacy for a second. We'll see if anybody else has any questions, and then Megan, I don't know if Jonathan and Virginia are ready to go or not. Let's see. Thank you for the Talking Book Services. My grandmother's used this service extensively and loves it. Wonderful. Thank you. So let me talk about Talking Book Services really quickly before I go to advocacy, so that I want to make sure that you know what we offer. Talking Book Services is our program that we have for people who are visually impaired or unable to hold a book in a traditional manner. We refer to them as books on tape. They're really not on tape anymore. It's a thumb drive that goes in sort of like a cassette looking device. And we mail those to our patrons free of charge. The whole service obviously is free of charge. Libraries, that's what we do, right? And I believe last month we had around 14,000 books that we mailed out, if I'm remembering off the top of my head correctly. That's pretty normal for us. There's also a downloadable section in Talking Book Services. So if you have a device, if a patron has a device that they can download directly to their device, our Talking Book Services staff has been sort of focused on that also during the pandemic and helping people be able to download books. So that's another aspect of Talking Book Services. And I agree. Thank you, Megan. We appreciate, we love our Talking Book Services group and that service. We know that it changes people's lives. It was the first service that we added back into Carl's question. It's really the only full-time permanent people that I have in the building right now is our Talking Book Services staff, because we heard from our TBS patrons that and we already knew this, it is their lifeline. They needed it. And we added it back as soon as we knew that as soon as we felt comfortable that we were not sending material to our patrons, at least from our location, that were contaminated in any way. And that's because we clean them and we have quarantine period, et cetera. Of course, we can't control what happens on the way there, but we feel good about our own process. And so we added that service back. Okay, advocacy, if I can just briefly talk about that. I mentioned, first, believe that libraries are important. Second, talk about libraries being important. That's true. And get involved in your profession. Get involved in growing yourself. Get involved in staying current with what's happening in the world. Get involved in your community so that people know who you are. I have several people I know that I visit public libraries that they have other people refer to them as, oh, that's the library lady. That's okay. There are worse things to be than the library lady. Get involved in your community, get involved in your profession. We have lots of opportunities at the State Library when we are able to travel again for grants for continuing education that you can apply for. There are also a ton of resources. We've made sure of this, a ton of resources online in our collection that you have access to that can help you grow professionally and personally. So I say, make sure that you are the best version of yourself during this time, and really grow your knowledge base so that you're prepared. And talk about libraries. Share library information broadly and widely and deeply. And Megan, you and I have had an offline sort of conversation with coordinating with ALA. I think it's important that SCLA coordinate some activities with ALA. I think that coordination with the state library is helpful. I think that anytime that you can get your professional group together to band together, it's helpful. There's power in numbers. I don't see anything else in the chat.
So to talk a little bit more about advocacy, I did invite Tamara Cox to join us today. She is a Library Journal mover and shaker for 2020. And she is also the South Carolina Teacher of the Year. She serves as, I'm sorry, Tamara, I might be saying this wrong, but she is a member of SCASL, which is the South Carolina Association for School Librarians. And when I had emailed about having somebody come and give us an update on advocacy, the immediate response was, Tamara will do it because she is fabulous. So I wanted to give the floor to you, Tamara, if you wanted to talk a little bit about what you're doing within SCASL for advocacy, and then I could kind of talk about some of the things that we're doing with SCLA as well.
Hi, everybody. I have one of those weird names that are hard to pronounce. It's Tamara, like rhymes with camera. But it's okay. People say my name weird all the time. For SCASL, one thing that we have really tried to focus on lately, now more than ever, is that our advocacy efforts are very visual for several different communities or groups that, stakeholders. So we have a monthly project we call Speak Up SCASL, where we have different themes each month. And a theme could be about information literacy and elections, which is this month. It could be about diversity. Every month is a little bit different. And we try to share pictures and examples of our events and programs on social media, and we tag administrators, legislators, parent groups, as many people as we can, so that they can see what we're doing and try to make our work as visual as possible so that they can remember it and see that whether schools are virtual or in person or a combination, how libraries are helping serve our students and our parents. We've also done SCASL Connects webinars this year, different themes. Our first one was right before school started, just getting our membership prepared. And we're trying to promote membership by giving those webinars, having those available for members for free, because probably like some of your organizations as well, we're trying to keep our membership as large as possible, because money is tough right now. We do need those numbers to kind of stick together. We're trying to do things like create a menu of services to show people how we can serve our students and parents while we're in person, but also if we were to go virtual again, and to show what we were able to do while we were still virtual. And I saw that Faith is in the group. It's been great to partner with our public libraries to show how our school and public libraries work together and share resources to provide the services our kids need. They've been great about digital library cards so that we can get as many kids signed up for library card as possible. And we were able to still do our summer reading, even though I could not come into the library and touch a book or give anybody a book. We were able to use the Anderson County Public Library Hoopla services and still have our summer reading. And then that was included in a school library journal article. And you better believe I shared the article with everybody, my principal, all my administration, my district administration, all of our SCASL members, because it is very important that our work is more visible this year than ever, which also kind of goes into our professional awards, because we want to make sure that we're highlighting and celebrating the work that libraries do and that our librarians do, so that hopefully when they're, if they're facing any kind of budget cuts, it's like, what, we can't cut the teacher of the year, who's the librarian. We've got to make sure that we are protecting our libraries and our librarians, because those services are so important. So my personal advice, this is not from SCASL, this is from Tamara, quit being humble, make sure that you are bragging on yourself, be your biggest cheerleader. Every little celebration, share with all of those stakeholders, your patrons, your bosses, the people next door, everybody. Just share what you're doing, because what we do is very important, and we want to make sure everybody knows that, and continues to protect our school and public and academic libraries, so that our students have what they need. So like regular reports, and just kind of celebrate those successes. So we're still chugging along, even though I saw Anderson's in here too. I'm very, very sad about the read-in, but hopefully one day soon we can do that again, because that is an excellent way for us to advocate as well. And I'm sad about National Library Legislative Day, but one day those things will come back. But in the meantime, we just have to really highlight ourselves, and don't be afraid to share. Don't be afraid to celebrate. Don't be afraid to brag, because what you're doing is awesome and everybody should know about it. So unless anybody has questions, I don't want to take away from what Virginia and Jonathan are going to share with some projects that we've probably done, that we have worked on together. They are both awesome, and I'm so glad that I've been able to work with them. So I'm excited to hear all the things that they're going to share as well. But thank you for giving me a few minutes. If you ever need me for anything, reach out. Hey, Jessica.
I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, but I did, and Tamara, please feel free to, if you're available tomorrow at 1:30, but Jonathan and Virginia are giving a presentation on Show and Tell Your Legislature, and I included the direct link to get into that session, and they're going to give an update on what they've been doing with the Advocacy Committee in that session. But so I wanted to talk to you guys just a little bit about some of the things that we're planning as kind of working together. So there's 3 separate library organizations within our state. So we have the South Carolina Library Association, we have the South Carolina Association for School Librarians, and we also have the South Carolina Archivist Association. And so being first vice president for SCLA, we are also the state chapter for the American Library Association, and the chapter relations office through ALA does a lot of programming. And this is my first time being in a leadership position, so I'm not exactly sure what they have done previous to this year, but I will say that with the pandemic, they were really making sure that the state chapters were being supported. They were sharing a lot of information. If you're a member of SCLA, I know you get a lot of emails from me and Jonathan, because Jonathan is also our ALA counselor, but we get a lot of information from them that we share to the membership. But through this, and with a lot of the associations moving virtual, they had done a lot of programming so that we could share with each other how we were moving our conferences virtual, how we were supporting our memberships. And so this idea kind of came out of that. Megan Cusick is over chapter relations for ALA, and she's also heavily involved with the Committee on Library Advocacy. And on Thursday's session, we have Justin De La Cruz giving a talk about advocacy in libraries. He's chair of that committee. And kind of going along with the theme of this conference is this sense of togetherness. Like, what can we do to band together? And nobody knows yet what the future is going to hold, but we do know that budgets will be tight, budgets will probably be reduced. But what can we do as a state to advocate to make sure that we maintain as much of our resources that we can to be able to provide for our users? So this fall, Megan Cusack has agreed to meet with SCLA, SCASL, and SCAA, and just kind of, and I think that Virginia, Tamara, Jonathan have done a really great job of SCASL and SCLA working together. And I think just kind of getting SCAA kind of into that fold, that we could really band together and work with the state library on really advocating for our libraries, advocating for our library users. And so that is one thing that we're planning on later this fall and continuing it into the spring. And Megan Cusack has agreed to come in and kind of work through some of this stuff with us, because they do provide a lot of resources on advocacy on the ALA website, but just really like taking some of those resources, making them, like figuring out what works best for our users in our state. So that's some of the information that we have about advocacy with SCLA. Definitely attend Virginia and Jonathan's presentation tomorrow at 1:30 about Show and Tell Your Legislature. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, Jonathan, did you have anything to add to what I was saying?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted to give one quick update. That's first of all, definitely please come and check out the Show and Tell Your Legislator section. But just in terms of legislative advocacy, which has been my primary my primary involvement over the past few years. With National Library Legislative Day being canceled due to coronavirus, it's been difficult to do the sort of face-to-face, have the same sort of conversations with our legislators as we normally would have. We've been trying to reach out to some folks to get sort of like a virtual kind of a town hall with some of our officials to talk about library specific issues. Y'all may not know this, but we're in an election year, evidently. And that being the case, it's kind of difficult to get people scheduled for some of these. So we'll hopefully, after the election, look forward to a meeting with our officials, the ones that we can get to come and do a virtual Zoom meeting, sort of our mini state legislative day. So I just wanted to put that in people's ear.
And if you're interested in helping with the advocacy committee, let me put Virginia and John's contact information into the chat.
Megan,
Yes.
can I? Hey, Jonathan, it's Leesa. Hello, nice to see you.
Hey.
When you know, I'm sorry, let me put my video back on. Once you have a date that you're thinking of, Denise has been working heavily, Denise in our office, Denise Lyons, she has been working heavily with Congressman Clyburn's office on our mobile Wi-Fi hotspot homework help program. We may be able to get him, I don't know. So if you have a date, as soon as you have a date, let us know and we'll try to do what we can. If you're looking for somebody at the national level and not necessarily the state.
Yeah, that would be great. It's been hard getting responses from some people right now, just because, I mean, a lot of people are super busy or super involved with election type stuff, but that's excellent. So yeah.
Or if there's somebody on the state level also that you want, just let us know and we'll see what we can do to help.
Excellent. Thank you, Leesa. See how important attending things like this can be?
Jonathan and I have walked many miles in Washington, D.C. together.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, thanks for sharing that information, Megan. And yeah, if you're interested in getting involved at all, please let us know. Thank you.
Are there any additional questions? Well, seeing none, I wanted to give a huge thanks to Leesa Aiken and Tamara Cox for being able to come today and give us an update. And also thank you to Jonathan. I am looking forward to your session tomorrow. Our business meeting starts at 2:30, and in order to do elections, we do need to have 1/3 of the attendees come to the business meeting. So please plan on being there at 2:30. It's the same link, so you can just minimize your screen or just hop onto the same link at 2:30. Thank you guys so much. If you guys have any questions about the conference, oh, I'm sorry, not 2:30, 2:15. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email. I'm here to help you if you have trouble figuring anything out. Thank you guys, and we'll see you at 2:15.